Hello, everybody. Welcome to our stream for BIPOC Vamp Day. We are going to be playing How Do You Do, Fellow Humans? And with me are these wonderful fellow humans. But before we get into who they are and what this game is all about, I just have a couple of, announcements to make. And the first is that this is going to be a charity stream, and we are raising money for the Sickle Cell Disease Association of America. And with my fangs, I will try not to lisp too much because September is Sickle Cell Awareness Month, and which is why we chose SCDAA. They are the nation's headquarters for sickle cell disease support, advocacy, and the search for the cure. And SCD is a group of inherited red blood cell disorders common among those whose ancestors come from sub-Saharan Africa, Spanish-speaking regions such as South America, the Caribbean, and Central America, Saudi Arabia, India, and the Mediterranean. And those with sickle cell disease can experience chronic pain and other serious problems such as infection, acute chest syndrome, and stroke. And if you are watching us live, you can help donate to our fundraiser. Just use !charity in chat to get the link. And currently we are sitting at $469.69. Nice. And our current third goal is $666.69. Nice. And with that, also just a big shout out to the wonderful portraits that you can see at the top of our screen. They are from the wonderful collection of portraits and art called Diverse Vampires. So if you type !diverse vampires in chat, you can get more information and the link to purchase this wonderful bundle of non-Eurocentric vampire portraits for personal use. Yeah, with that, let's quickly go around the table and who are you, wonderful fellow humans? Let's start off with Pooja.
Hi, I am Pooja. I am very definitely human. Just like everyone else here. We're all human here. Just, I just have a bit of a
overbite.
Mm-hmm.
All right, fellow human number 2, Valiant.
Hi, everyone. My name is Valiant Dorian, and I am also a fellow human doing human things on this very, very human stream.
All right. And our next fellow human, Brandy.
Yes. Hi, I'm Brandy Rose. I'm a very, very, very human fellow human who does create very human things. And you can catch all of my very human streams and podcasts on the link tree in the chat.
And I will be the facilitator about this very hot mess of a game in the most wonderful ways, Mariam. I lurk around Utopia, and when I'm not lurking around Utopia, you can also find me on their Super Geek, which is a actual play one-shot that is run by myself and my 2 co-hosts, the wonderful Kristen and Jeremy. Speaking of Jeremy is the wonderful writer for this game, How Do You Do, Fellow Humans, which was submitted as part of our BIPOC Vamp Jam, which ran most of last month. Let's get quickly, let me just give you a quick overview of this game. So it is a GM-less, diceless game where we get to live out our best vampire sitcom life, and we will start off by defining our settings, and then the game will be played in 5 parts, which is the opening credits, our 3 acts within the show, and then our stinger as we end. And yeah, we're all going to be roommates, new roommates, and that are secretly very old vampires and most definitely fellow humans. And the twist to this entire sitcom is we each do not know that we are all vampires. And because we've lived so long among not among humans, that we don't miss all the signs that the audience catches. And that's where our hot messes lies. So are we ready, fellow humans?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yes.
Let's start off by defining our setting. We are all new to this location, and we've chosen it because we all want to, see where the people are. We want to see them dancing and other things. So I'm gonna just now throw it out there. As I've chatted quite a bit, where do you think we all are roommates in? Like, are we looking at college dorm, apartment in the city, small town bungalow? Like, where do you think we are all rooming up together?
I lean towards apartment in the city. I think I might also be influenced by Valiant talking about his upcoming move. And I'm like, it would be very funny to drop 4 vampires into the middle of like a living district in London or something, or in a big city. Big city
Yeah.
anywhere.
I also really like the apartment in the city just because then we can really coordinate very, very different characters as well. Because if we all have I'm not sure how much thought anyone has had on this yet, but that way, if we improv something very interesting and different from one another, it makes sense because you do have a ragtag group of roommates when you live in an apartment in a big city. Just gotta, that's what happens.
We all answered the same notice
Mhm.
on the community board.
Yeah. And do you think it is like a college town or something where the bulk, like the reason why there's so many like rooms available and everything is because there's like 2 or 3 big colleges or universities? Like, are we all grad students?
I had mine a little older, but she is kind of a hot mess. So she could very easily end up being like, what's up, fellow youth humans? I too am hip and cool. So it would work. It could work if it was like a college-based town. I think I have mine in like her 30s, early 30s, my character.
Yeah, totally. Totally would work. Grad student, just living their best grad student life. All right. Sorry, did someone want to add something? With that, there's an ad on the TV for I don't know, heart medication, and the usual cheesiness of those ads, and then suddenly our show starts. There's sort of a big vista view off our town. Looks very sort of old European with modern takes, and then it cuts to this sort of apartment townhouse sort of a place, and there's the cheesy kind of sitcom montage of where we see each of our characters. Who would like to begin describing what their character looks like and what they're doing as it kind of switches to each person at the start of the opening credits?
I can start.
Mhm.
So Amrit wakes up as a normal human does in the daytime and forgot to completely, because it is an old apartment, it is an old building being made into something of a more modern apartment. The blinds don't close quite as well. So he doesn't need an alarm clock in the morning. Instead, he gets woken up by a bit of the sun ray hitting his forehead, sizzling his skin for a second. He goes, ah! jolts awake. My character's name is Amrit. He uses he, they pronouns. And as soon as that happens, goes scurries underneath his little futon blanket, scurries out, and immediately ducks into the wardrobe to wear all of his sporty gear because he's an athlete. And you see all over his walls plastered all of these rugby posters and of I nearly said sports people. They're called athletes, athletes that he admires.
I mean, yes,
Valid.
they're totally sports people, athletes.
That's
That's the term.
Yep, totally. They're called sports people. And immediately ducks down to try and wear as many layers as athletically possible.
All right. And as the camera pans and cuts to another scene, who would like to go next?
I can give Frankie a shout out. So Frankie is the name of my character, technically Francesca, but she's changed it so many times she doesn't even actually remember what her original name is. She's been around for a couple thousand years now. You'd think she'd get a hang of not waking up in an uncomfortable position, but she fell asleep hanging from the ceiling fan, and the ceiling fan in this apartment is not made for the weight of a human being. And it's really been straining the past few first nights in this apartment, and she wakes up with a crash as it finally gives way, and she just lands right on top of the mattress, though, because she did think ahead a little bit. She lands on the mattress, grumbly, confused, dazed. There's dust all over her. She doesn't remember doing anything with dust last night. Also, maybe it hurts, maybe it doesn't. I think after that many eons, you just kind of, pain doesn't really register anymore. So she's just kind of confused and is like, oh, that was really loud, whatever that was. Maybe I should complain to a neighbor later or something. But then she's like, okay, well, it's morning, so I guess I'm gonna have to get my day started. She's also definitely still wearing the clothes she was wearing when she fell asleep, like just from like the day. So she just like dusts herself off. She's like, this is good enough. This is fine.
Yeah, and the camera pans. And do you want to go next, Pooja, or do you need a moment?
No, I think I can go next.
Awesome.
Swati wakes up with the alarm going off in a blaring kind of classical music rendition, something with cannons, and reaches out to slap off the alarm, but like, unlike the body that's in the bed, the arm is coming out from underneath the bed and reaches up onto the nightstand and slaps the alarm off. And Swati crawls out from underneath her bed and switches places basically with the mannequin that she puts in the bed every night. She, kind of dusts off some of the dust and grave dirt that is underneath there, just like all humans have.
It's just a cuddle buddy.
And looks out at her collection of great human literature, because all of these wonderful artists and writers were definitely humans, just like me.
Is there an example, is there any titles that people can glimpse at as the camera is taking in this wonderful view?
Oh, I am so bad with names on the spot. So, it goes kind of like in order. It's the bigs are there, like people get suspicious when you don't have like some Dante and Shakespeare on your wall, right? And then it goes into like more modern like there's some Alicia Rye there, and you're like, and slowly turns into like much more like paranormal romance. and you've got like some Nalini Singh just rounding us out in the end.
Awesome. And as the camera pans, it finally settles on Lola, whose room is full of like really all these posters of like Lolita fashion, of like the Victorian knee-length dresses and sort of like doll-like fashion, and and there's like, it looks like sort of like a studio, like a designer studio sort of a thing, and there's and you see Lola basically sketching designs and sort of being like, latest fashion trends, human fashion trends, dolls. And there's like a lot of like, especially sort of the Japanese anime sort of Lita styles as well, because it's like seen a lot of college students being into it, and just was like, this is human fashion trends. This is what I'm going to be doing now. And there is essentially a couple of tumblers. What are those things where you water? Like where
They're called tumblers, aren't they?
Yeah. Tumblers that have red liquid inside, and just like sips a little bit, and that's where the stains on her mouth is. Yeah, the name of our sitcom, How Do You Do, Fellow Humans, begins. And I think with that, we now move into our Act 1 of this wonderful show, where within this, we are going to establish our stakes, essentially the goals that each of our characters want. And once we are done establishing those in short scenes, we will move on to our next act. So I think I will start. I'm definitely trying to I think, you know, with the whole trying to be fashionable and everything, I'm trying to apply to like design school, I think. And it is, I believe, just after dusk when we all awake. And I sort of just walk into our main shared thing and be like, guys, guess what? I got my application. I'm going to fill this up. And I'm going to try to see if I can get into school. I just have trouble trying to fill this out. It says age, and does not accept anything like below 99.
That is a real problem. You know, I had a very, very similar issue when I was filling out my forms, you know. But is this an online form?
Yeah, and you see holding out paper forms.
Amazing.
But
There's
then
only
that
two
is-
spaces here.
Well,
Oh, I
they
think you
say
could just-
age is just a number. Or, oh, I know. You're only as old as you feel. So maybe that's the number that they want. How old do you feel?
Yes.
All right, 21.
That sounds
Oh.
that sounds right.
That's a very good number.
I
Very,
think they
very
don't
good.
really care what your age is. I just threw a dart, and whatever number it landed on, that's what I put.
What'd you put?
32.
That sounds like a good number. That's very, very young.
It's
I think so.
a very, very good number.
I think so.
Also, we really enjoy the number 21 because it just gives you so much access to so many things.
Yeah.
1 year below that, and you can't go into the local bodega to get yourself a drink, and
And there's a
really weird.
store where you can stay that forever. They have
Yeah.
such
Yeah.
cute clothes.
Mhm.
The ingenuity of our times.
Does someone else want to throw a goal that they would like to establish?
When Lola enters the
My
room,
brain
I
had a
think
small English bleep right now. So everything I was thinking was in the wrong language. And I was like, yes, I am translating right now.
Yes, we are all humans.
We're all humans. All good.
Very much human.
Mm-hmm. I think when Lola comes in with the paper application, Amrit is kind of got his feet tucked underneath one of the couches and is doing sit-ups, but he's doing them wrong. He's just, instead of doing this, he's got his hands up still on either side and is lifting himself out Dracula style each time. And he's just kind of like, well, since you have got such a busy day ahead of you, I have tonight is my night. Coach will finally see me for the sports person that I am deep inside. Look at all these sit-ups I am doing. I am so good at them. And I will score all of the goals tonight in our big game. Will you all come? I would love to see you all show up for my sports person debut.
What's the game?
You see the cogs go in its brain. Rugby.
Ah, sure. I love seeing people just smash.
Oh yes,
Yeah.
that's the one where they dismember the other team, correct?
I think so.
Oh, is that what it
Mhm.
is? I thought they take rugs and bees. And they, I don't know, catch the bees with the rug?
You
Oh,
know,
no,
I
no,
might be
no.
getting it mixed up with American football. I think that's the one where they take apart the team members.
I'm not aiming to take apart any team members. I'm opting for a more, and you see him kind of inhumanely kind of just get back up in a very weird limbs kind of readjust in awkward ways and just goes nimbler fashion. They can't hit me if I am too nimble. And he goes towards the fridge to get his food for the day.
Wonderful.
So Frankie's been watching all of this while she is draped across the other side of the couch where he is from where he was doing his sit-ups, and she is sitting also upside down because why not? She's also still trying to get her head back right from hanging upside down all night. So she's sitting upside down on the couch, just crossing her legs, very chill, and she's like, "Well, I'll try to make it to the game, but I have a meeting with my supervisor for my master's today. We're having a bit of an argument. He says that, Romeo and Juliet was supposed to be this great love story, but I just really don't think that's the only layer to the story. And I know Shakespeare, because I've studied him for so many years, but he won't accept that I'm right, and I'm trying to get him to see my point of view, so I'm gonna have a meeting with him today, and hopefully he'll let it go, because right now he's saying he's gonna reject my theses, and he's wrong.
Yeah, I hope you
Quite
can.
bothers me that he is your advisor, that he was able to obtain the position of advisor without understanding the basics of
Right.
of Willie. I mean, of Shakespeare.
Right.
No, it is not. Do any of we all are in agreement that Romeo and Juliet isn't like a great love story.
Right.
Certainly,
No, they
yes.
die in the end.
Exactly. Also, they
yeah.
were stupid. They
Mm.
like this wasn't. I mean, he's written some love stories. This one wasn't one of them.
You couldn't wait 2 minutes just to see what was up, you know?
Mhm.
I don't know. And also it is a story of political intrigue, is what it is.
Exactly. And that was part of what I was writing, but he doesn't see it that way. But I mean, what does he know? It's not like he was there.
No, of course not.
Of course not. Like
that would
No,
That's
mean
not, we can't do that.
who
You know.
could say how Shakespeare was, or how Shakespeare enjoys a
or the fact that there
glass
were
of wine while
multiple
writing?
Shakespeare's.
Mm-hmm. A moniker, yep.
I mean, it's just Homer all over again.
Yeah.
They don't know.
I don't know.
I just don't get it.
Not
I
as
mean,
well
you
read.
know-
Maybe they just don't have as much funding in the university as I thought they did.
That might be it.
Yep.
Mhm. They don't have enough money. They don't have enough money.
Mhm.
Or that, good old Willie decided to retire and set up a candy store.
Right? It's so weird how
Mhm.
they don't usually include that in his biographies.
That's so
But I
weird.
mean, at least they put it in some of them. So
Mhm.
that's because we know that.
Yes.
From-
Yes,
from
of course.
reading.
Yes, of course, because I read it in a biography.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
As we all have.
Mm.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Mhm,
So I
mhm.
shouldn't be too late to the game, but I might make it a little close to your sports person debut.
I look forward to you showing up. I am rooting for you to show your perspective to this advisor. Interesting.
Yeah, and I'd love to make it to your sports event once I go submit my application. So maybe Frankie and I can just meet you there.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah. That sounds like a very good idea. I might be a little bit late. I am attending a poetry slam. So
Whoa.
it's almost, I mean, it feels like it might be a little bit competing events.
I do love slamming poets.
Dismemberment, slamming on the other side, but it may be a double feature kind of situation.
Oh.
Oh.
It's like arts and sports meet together. They
They are
slam.
I mean, we are so ingenious in
Mhm.
the combinations we make in entertainment.
It's
But are you
amazing.
are you doing the slamming?
It is my first time, so I believe, yes, I will need to slam all the other poets in order to establish my place in the hierarchy.
Yes.
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 I wonder
mean-
if everyone is eligible to be slammed or if it is only the poets. Do you have a poem prepared in case you should be slammed?
Yeah. You want to
Yeah.
run it by us?
I believe that's a good idea, because you never know who might attempt to slam you in the middle of your poem,
Mm-hmm.
and you have
I've
to
heard
be
of that
prepared
happening.
for a sneak
Mhm.
attack. So I do hope they don't have wooden stools.
Oh.
Mhm.
Oh. Yeah, the wood can be irritating for the skin.
Very.
Yeah,
Very.
pine. I'm particularly allergic to pine and oak
Mm.
Yes. Allergies are
and
very,
maple
very common issue that we all share.
and worse. And
Amrit
I'm
takes
still
a bite.
listing.
Amrit takes a bite out of this kind of like package, maybe a little bit too much on the raw side steak, and then goes as he's like, Garlic. Why would they?
It seems
Another
to be in
allergy.
everything.
It's everything.
Mm.
Do you have garlic allergies? It is much more common than people think.
It is, and
True,
onions and spring onions and shallots, and I'm starting to now name all sorts of in the alien.
I'm not allergic, but I just don't like it. I don't see why everyone needs to have garlic on everything all the time.
It's
It's not that
quite
delicious.
excessive.
Oh, it is.
And,
It is
and
okay.
it's sneaky
Mhm.
what they put it in now. You never know when you're gonna
They
wham,
have.
garlic in your face.
I mean, we have these spice grinders now, food processors that grind them up so fine you'll never notice it's in the marinade until you're. Oh, see, my lips are already swelling. It's not.
you
It's
like
just kind
the
of
first
steaming
aid?
a little bit.
Would you like the first aid box that is in this house?
I think I will be okay as long as I dispose of this monstrosity. Kind of just like slams it into the bin, into not even the bin, like the garbage disposal, and just starts going into the sink.
The entire steak.
Yes,
That
he
is
just
gonna
dropped-
smell so horribly.
I know.
So fast. Do we have a sense of smell, by the way? Do we think?
I think so.
Oh boy, it's gonna be fun.
It's okay.
Bring us
It-
back to the old days of rotting carcasses.
Maybe that's why we're
find
desensitized to
it-
smell.
I find it quite soothing, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like a nostalgic.
Mhm. I would liken it to the smell of like going to McDonald's. It just smells like a fine eatery.
Yes, a
Yes.
fine eatery.
I remember it was up in Aberdeen where there were plenty of Scots. And I started going on poetic about this tavern that sounds like it's almost 200, 300 years old. At McDonald's, yes.
Mhm.
Was a wonderful time.
That's what I remember for McDonald's as well from my childhood, which was only 32 years ago.
Yes. Yes. Definitely 21 years ago.
Yes.
All the
Mhm.
smiling faces for the happy meals.
Yes. And the children's special,
Yes.
which they definitely had 24 years ago.
Mhm.
We used to like calling them affectionately McNuggets.
I remember those. And then you would get a free relic with every Happy Meal.
A free relic with every Happy
Sweet.
Meal.
Yeah, I
Got
collected
this-
some of them. If you want to see my collection, I now put them in the latest fashions. And I pull out like a couple of the Lolita dolls. Which clearly are like about 200-300 years old. Like porcelain's cracking, the paint's like a different color by now.
Such fine relic work. And you're calling this clothing what, current fashion?
Yes, I think I'm gonna call them Lolas.
Oh,
Oh,
Oh, so modern of you.
very, very
Yeah,
modern. Putting-
I heard people like to call it after themselves, make themselves a noun.
Ooh.
oh, I could wear a
That's-
Frankie.
So, I suppose I shall call my poetry Swathi.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. And that way you're asserting your dominance during the poetry slam. You are setting yourself up for great expectations.
It's so important to demoralize your competition before you begin.
Yes.
Yes,
Your
absolutely. Perhaps you
poetry
should
is you.
begin your poem with a war cry. Something very loud and impassioned, and then preemptively slam just one poet to get the crowd warmed up, and then read your poetry.
I might even. It's such a good idea. I could slam a poet on my way up as an opener,
Yes.
I have heard that the crowd likes an opener.
Just
Mhm.
like the sports people that fight in those boxed rings.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, the gladiators.
The wee wee. Oh, yes, and the gladiators too.
Oh yes, I have seen the wee wee a few times.
Mm.
A few times. There's that dead looking man, the acting dead
Mm.
man.
The acting dead man. Yes, yes, yes.
Mhm.
You know, it's nothing like the traditional gladiator blood match, but
Mm.
I appreciate the flair. Sometimes, you know, that is the change of pace that we as human society need.
I feel like there was also a stone, and then that stone went into movies.
Yes,
Ah,
yes.
yes.
The
Ah,
stone
yes.
is he does
I heard-
do the cinematic things now.
I heard
Mhm.
the stone was sly.
Oh.
Maybe that could help you in your sports personing.
Ah, that is.
You could
A
also
thought?
not be hit if you are sly.
Mm-hmm.
That is
Exactly.
true.
Exactly. We, you might have helped me conjure up the game-winning move. Ha ha ha
Oh,
ha!
yes.
Checkmate.
You can call it the pebble.
The pebble. Mhm.
The pebble.
I
That would
agree.
be the name. Yes.
I agree. Well, I should probably get going. Are you going to be coming with me, Lola, to the university
Yeah.
establishment?
Yeah, sure. I would love to join you in your pool. I think that is what they're called nowadays.
Ah, yes, yes. we
Let's
should
pool
we
together.
should pool.
And you
we
see
should
me
pool.
slowly starting to mist form into you, like a pool.
Ah, yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Hmm.
This is the modern way of transportation. The thing is,
Yeah.
she's a couple thousand years old. She hasn't done that in a while, so she's a little rusty on the transformations.
Mhm.
She's always much more of a turn into a bat type flyer. So she's like, ah, yes, let me get my transportation device, and she fiddles a little bit, like she puts a jacket on, but it has like slits in the back,
Mhm.
and just like these two little wings pop out, these tiny little ones, and she's like, ah, yes, my transportation jacket. All right, we are. And she's like hovering only like this much off the ground, so it's like minimally faster than walking. But
And
because she can't fully transform in front of everyone, so she's like, ah, yes, this jacket that I have that helps me move.
And I feel with that, unless there's any more scenes we want to establish, we go towards a commercial break where there is now ads for blood donation drives.
I feel like there's like also an ad for like blood thinner, and like at some like just right after that one, just to make it flow better.
And
which
the
is what we
24
think it's for.
hours. Yeah, and then there's like a 24 hours McDonald's ad, like a local.
Mhm.
And then it comes back to our wonderful show where we are now going to be in Act 2, where we will now individually or together will play scenes to take steps towards our goals, but we also encounter a complication. So we will take turns this time and have scenes with those in mind. So who would like to go first? I feel like maybe we could either do the poetry slam
Mhm.
or transport towards the university.
We can go together right at like after each other for the transporting, and then
Yeah.
have those two scenes back to back. So we are moving in questionable speeds. Luckily, this is a university town in Europe, so the university really is just 10 minutes from the apartment walking.
Mhm.
About 5 minutes in the questionable floating mist form that we have taken that we are
Mhm.
not questioning.
Yep.
But we do stop a good like around out of sight of the university just in case, because I haven't recently seen other people use the methods I'm using. So just in case they're not quite up to the technology that I am using. The wings pop away, and the hair is luckily long enough to hide the slits in the jacket that are massive. And you guys, I guess, come to a halt and walk the rest of the way. And it's and Frankie turns and goes, "Well, I'm in this building for English literature, so maybe we shall
Let's meet back here.
meet back here in order to go to the game tonight, and we shall meet here in like she says like a few hours." Which to her is like seconds, but she's like, yeah, hours looks right.
Yeah, hours look like right. And also, I think we can see, because there's a big game happening, that there's signs for it everywhere, including the poetry slam. Like maybe the poetry slam's like off campus or something, versus on campus. And there's also several. I feel like posters of like missing people as well. Totally not people we haven't seen in other episodes. And
Professor's about to be on there.
Yep. And at that point, I say, "All right, I guess I will meet you in a couple of hours, Rumi." And
Yes,
I start
farewell,
strolling
Rumi.
off. And how about we continue either with your scene or shift to another scene?
We can shift. We can establish them.
Okay. All right, let's go poetry slam, or whoever wants to go next.
Okay, so I am frantically dipping my fountain pen into an inkwell and jotting down new poetry notes, thanks to the wonderful discussion with my totally human roommates. They've let me know that like these are the accepted and anticipated things at the poetry slam, so I need to add a war cry. And so I've got quite an undulating one that I'm planning on leading with, and that I need to prepare to slam just one poet to start. And I've like made those little notes in my hand press paper notebook, and I pack it up, and I'm like, fantastic. I should get there early so that I can scope out the competition. I heard poetry slams could be very intense. So I head over to the bar, like or tavern that the poetry slam is in, by transforming into a small swarm of rats.
Oh my goodness.
Like you do.
Mm-hmm.
You do.
And I enter the establishment through all of the absolutely and totally normal ways.
Do you have a name for the
i.e.
bar?
The vents. The the Thirsty Minstrel,
All right, the Thirsty Minstrel.
because I decided to go to the most modern tavern that I could find.
Yeah. So you enter through the vents and you hear, I feel like you'd hear a couple of screams.
Yeah.
Oh, they've begun slamming already. I thought I would be here early, but it would appear that I am late.
People are just screaming from the skittering of a large group of rats in the fence.
And you hear, I feel like at some point they're sort of like, "Oh, we gotta call the health and safety inspector. I give this 1 star. I give this 1 Yelp."
Why is the fan contorting like that?
And it's just like I send out like a few. It's like 1 Yelp. Are we supposed to have multiple Yelps? Do I need to slam the poets multiple times in order to have the perfect score? So I send a few of myself out to like see what's happening. Is the competition already begun? Are people just warming up? Maybe they're just warming up. And I run across the bartender's feet.
Yeah, I feel like you're definitely more on the early side. Like the bar's not even open quite yet. Like they're getting ready for the poetry slam.
Wonderful, wonderful. So it's just warming up. And I go into the and like as the people scream and the bartender like gets a giant broom to try to like swap me. I go on back and I transform back into my normal self in the storeroom.
Okay.
And I feel like before we go back to see what's going on, probably how is Amrit doing?
Amrit is I think preferred mode of transportation for them is to do the Dracula floating 2 inches above the ground. Almost like he is gliding. But as he is doing this, he's doing like warm-ups, stretching out his arms and doing like the motions for jumping jacks, but he's not jumping, he's just kind of like gliding as he is walking. And plays like songs from that one particular famous boxing movie, because all of the people listen to that to get hyped for a match. And as he finally floats, it's because it's evening, and thank God it's evening because he can actually make his debut. His coach calls him over, and they're all doing, again, running around the field and getting ready and warming up. And then it gets a little too dark, and the coach is like, all right, turn on the lights. And the lights go on. And as soon as the lights go on, part of Amrit's skin kind of singes and he goes, ah! Coach, what perchance are these light fixtures? Why are they so bright?
Oh, we got those new energy efficient UV.
Oh no.
Ultraviolet, is it? Yes, quite. Ow. I just need to put on better vestments. And he just like runs past the field and ducks into the locker room to try and find clothing. Because the UV lights are now singeing him and he can't make his debut this way.
Oh no.
He'll be ash by the end of it if he does not figure a way out soon.
I think at some point you see a picture for like you see like a bulletin board with stuff. Mm-hmm. And you see like some sort of a sunblock cream or something like that. And it's like, protect yourself from the deadly sun rays. Wear the SPF 100.
Immediately, is this like a poster?
Oh yeah,
that's So immediately, he's kind of like, I must acquire for myself an SPF. And he's just like, again, marching via Dracula glide through this kind of corridor to look for this sunblock. But in the meantime, he has put on like the sports sleeves up on his arm. He's got like, instead of shorts, an entire like jogger put on. And as he's on this journey to go and find this sunblock, he finds a poster of an athlete that he should be admiring. And he leans his head against the poster. Oh, Mr. Rugby Man, we really in it now. And then continues on his journey to find sunblock, the mysterious elixir known as sunblock.
I love
Feel-
that so much.
Yep. I feel like, Frankie, this is a good time for
Yep.
you to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I am marching up. I am so ready. Also, we didn't really describe what we look like feature wise. The beautiful image that comes up here in the chat sometimes of the vampire with the long dark hair and the bright red eyes and the very pointy ears, that's Frankie. That's pretty much what I think Frankie looks like. So a lot of people just think she's really into body modification. She doesn't question it. She doesn't really know what that means. She does, however, always have the eyes and tends to dress in a very like, people just think she's very into her major because she always dresses in these like very period-esque like very period type dresses, like the off the shoulder. You can move in them well, but they're, you didn't get them at Forever 21. And so she is marching into this man's office times be damned. He is getting ready to leave. And she's like, nope, absolutely not. We are not leaving until you concede that I am correct. And they start bickering back and forth, and her arguments don't make any sense because at some point she goes, you just don't know him like I do. And he goes, sometimes people work too much, Frankie, and sometimes people experience something called burnout. And she's immediately like looking for the sun, and she's like, I'm not burning. I don't burn. We don't burn. What are you talking about? I can handle anything you throw at me. I will not burn, which is like a full-on bluff, because if you throw sunlight at her, she will. But that being said, he goes, I think you're taking, and he like looks her up and down and goes like, I think you're taking this a little too seriously. I think maybe we should talk about deferring your thesis a little. And she's irate. She's like, oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Because in her head, she has been working on this thing for a couple 100 years now. And resubmitting it at different universities as she can. And it keeps getting rejected because nobody knows anything about the time period that she's writing about. And she's not doing this whole thing again. She's decided this is the last time she does college. This is ridiculous. And that is where I think we leave off, as they are bickering it out still.
Yeah. I think at this point it cuts away to Lola striding up to where the admissions office is and seeing basically everything shut down and going, how do I submit this application now? And we'll look around and see this one person starting to leave and be like, oh, you're still here. Hey, I have questions about my application. And this person who probably is like just like another grad student who worked like, like a TA or something, not actually anything to do with the admissions, goes like, I don't actually work. You know what? Never mind. I'm sure I can. I'm guessing you're new here, and we'll sort of look at the application, and I'll be like, yeah. So I wanted to write over here. Age is nothing but a number, but I only see 2 cells. How am I supposed to add extra stuff? And sort of looks me up and down and says, well, actually, I'm not quite sure. I think you just put what your actual age is. I think you look, I don't know. And is like really hesitating to say what age I am. 20, very slowly. And I go, 1. And sort of gives this a sort of like take back of like, do not look 21, because I do not. I look closer to like about 40 or 50. And says, yeah, sure, just put 2 here and a 1 here. And I said, well, isn't there this thing? And I point, at this point, I point to where it says something about lying on your admissions can make you be rejected or other things. And it's like, yeah, but, you know, I tried to put 121 and wouldn't accept it. And it's like, and now this person's just staring at me incredulously.
Yeah.
And I feel like at this point it goes back to another one of us roommates scenes as a sort of fan of like, what? So who would like to continue raising their stakes?
I think actually that expression on your fellow student's face is the perfect time to cut away to an identical expression on the bartender's face
Yeah.
as Swati walks out of the storeroom. Just perfectly put together in her 3-piece suit. Those creases could cut someone. Mostly because she's put knives in them, but you know, it's a slam. She wanted to be prepared for any kind of sneak attack. And the bartender's like, what? Why were you back? How did you even get in here? It's like, oh, just the normal way, like all of us do. It's like, okay, well, we seem to have a rat problem. And a couple of people called health and safety. So it looks like we're shutting down for the night. And I'm gonna have to ask you to leave. And I'm just completely mortified and horrified and all the other fights that I could be. But the poetry slam is tonight. You can't possibly shut down. Who would dare interrupt the poetry slam? I heard people warming up for it earlier. I mean, rats are also beings of this planet, and we must learn to live in harmony with them and become one with the rat. At which point I'm pretty sure he's like, hippie, cool. And it's like trying to like push me out towards the front so we can get out the door. I'm like, point me towards the health and safety officer. I shall make sure that the slam takes place. For I have prepared long and hard for a contest of the ages to show others my dominance in this space.
Wonderful.
And I think right as the door starts to open, then we can cut to somebody else.
Yeah, who wants to go next?
Can go because that seems to be a good cutaway to, again, I didn't describe Amrit before, but he's got the undercuts and the white streaks in his hair. People usually just think he's hip and cool. You know, brooding, mysterious lad, does not know what he is doing. However, it's just him aging. And this is the perfect time to pan over to him wearing his like sports varsity jacket, his face pressed up against the glass of a sunblock vending machine. And he says, "Modern technology, you vex me. Continuously through the ages, I will have my sunblock." And you see as it pans, it blurs off his face, you can see the sunblock teetering at the edge of the vending machine, jammed and unable to drop down to the pocket where he needs it. And that is when he looks around to make sure that there are no other fellow humans present for the behavior he is about to display, as he grabs the vending machine on either side and just starts rattling rattling it desperately, trying to get the sunblock out of there, and makes it worse because he shakes it back into the nook and it's sealed shut.
No.
Curses! He yells out to Ether. He steps back and he stares at this vending machine. I see that you are a worthy opponent, and I will hold back no longer. And then stuffs his hands into the pockets of the vending machine and tries to bend his limbs upwards to try and get it. And I think that's a good way to cut away.
I think that goes really nicely. So he's, like grunting, making noise and doing that. Frankie is doing the same thing to her professor, just shaking him. And is like, how dare you insinuate? And then she just makes some like absolutely wild claim that she cannot support in any way, shape, or form. Like something that like, how dare you insinuate that Byron was straight? Something just out there. That's like from like the rest of her theses, she's and through the ages. None of this is in the same time period because to her also she lived through all of them. They have blended together completely. She has no idea who's from when. She frequently mixes every era up. She's just happy she found clothes she likes at some point. It's all English
bards. All English bards are the same.
Exactly.
Yep.
So she's shaking him. She's growling. Her eyes are flashing. Homeboy is scared, but mostly he's like, all right, I know that cosplay is a big hobby on campus, and I'm all for being individual, but does your generation just lack professionalism? And this is so rich because he looks a good, like maybe 10 years older than she is. She still looks like she's in her early 30s, maybe late 20s. Very athletic build because she was from the Olmec Empire originally, and she was a very strong person before she was turned. So this is also, the shaking is definitely rattling this man's brain. And he says, that's it. You are barred from submitting your thesis to me. Find a new supervisor. And she like snarls at him, but like sniffs and goes, huh, I will make sure you lose your tension. She means tenure. And she like walks out, and now she's in the hallway and she's like, well, now she has to find a new professor. And she just looks down and suddenly the hallway seems like the camera shot is that the hallway seems like extremely endless now. Aww. And she's like, well, time to knock on some doors. And that's, I think, a good place to pan away.
Yeah, and as you sort of look at all the doors, you see basically another set of doors in a different part of the campus. And these all look to be, I guess, like student lab rooms, computer lab rooms. And you see the student being like, well, actually, if you want to submit it before midnight tonight, you could just do an online application. I'm like, oh, so which line do I have to go to? It's like, no, not a line. You need to put it on the internet. Like acting like I am slow, and says, oh, all right, so which net do I put it in? And then sort of exasperated sort of says, no, just follow me, and sort of takes Lola into this like computer lab that everybody has access to as a student, and sort of sits me down and pulls the application up and says, no, just fill this application in. And then you see Lola basically now trying with one finger typing each letter one by one. And it's really painful for everyone watching around. And then says, oh, so what does this email thing. It's like, yeah, email. It's your email address. Oh, my email. And you see in the email, I start typing our new home address in it. And I feel like with that, we will cut to another commercial break, but also we will take a short break of ourselves. So for everybody watching, oh my god, we've actually hit $619.69. Woo! Nice.
Yes.
We are trying to hit our third goal of $666.69. Noise. Yeah, and we are raising money for the sickle cell. Where did my? I'm trying to type things and I think I type it in the wrong place. Yeah, so we are raising money for the Sickle Cell Disease Association of America as September Sickle Cell Disease Awareness Month. So please, whatever you can spare, no amount is too small. If you would like to donate, there's a link in chat right now. And we're also celebrating BIPOC Vamp Day by playing games that were in our for our Vamp Jam. And this wonderful game is How Do You Do, Fellow Humans? And with that, I think we will go to our break, hydrate, stretch, take care of yourselves, and we will be back in a couple of moments. Bye.
Bye.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our one shot of How Do You Do, Fellow Humans, written by the wonderful Jeremy Harper, who was our producer for one of our wonderful games this afternoon, as well as the facilitator for the games just before us, Come at the Next. This game is just, I absolutely love this game. But before we get back in, just a quick reminder about our wonderful charity that we are raising funds for, which is the sickle cell. I can't write and type at the same time. The the Sickle Cell Disease Association of America, as September is Sickle Cell Disease Awareness Month. And if you check our chat, there's a link to donate whatever you can. We are currently at $619.69. Nice. Of our goal, third goal actually, of $666.69. Nice. Nice. Yeah, so please, whatever you can, donate, please do. We are on day 2 of our charity stream. We had a lot of wonderful games before us, and there's going to be one more tonight before we get into our Sunday programming. And yeah, those are the messages for now. And if you're just tuning in, we had a couple of interesting scenes. Why don't we just go around and sort of give a quick summary of what our character goals and establishing our stakes and raising the stakes were. I'll start with myself. Lola is an aspiring design student or fashion design, and is currently trying to figure out how to fill the application to get into said design school. Frankie, what is your character trying to do?
So Frankie is now without advisor for her thesis. She's been trying to get this thesis done for the last couple hundred years, and she keeps running into the same issue that nobody believes her when she says that she knows these like intimate details, or these to the like human scholars very bold claims about writers of English literature. Plus, there's the fact that she gets her dates mixed up all the time because they don't mean anything to her anymore. So she just lost her advisor after threatening him with bodily harm and death for telling her that her ideas were wrong. And so now she is in a seemingly endless university hallway, aka a normal university hallway, and she is going to be looking for a new advisor because she will be damned, no pun intended, if she does not get this thing done this year. And I pass it on to
All right.
to the next.
Yeah. Swati or Amrit.
Alrighty. Amrit is was very, very excited to have his first debut as a sports person, and has realized that the stadium in which they are going to be conducting this night's game uses energy saving UV ray light that does cause it to sizzle a little bit, and that if he would to continue playing in the state that he is in, he would not be able to make his debut, and so has gone on a mission to acquire as many pieces of clothing to cover every part of his skin, and the ones that have to remain exposed, he sees a poster of sunblock, and he is now fighting a sunblock vending machine that is refusing to provide him his paid for bottle of sunblock, and that is where we're at with him at the moment.
And Swati.
Swati has been very excited about attending her first poetry slam, and she has spent a long time prepping her poetry, prepping her weaponry, practicing slamming inanimate objects and, fellow humans in preparation for this, and then got to the tavern early, only to find that they had called the health inspector because of a rat swarm. That was her getting to the tavern early. So the bartender has told her that the tavern is going to close down. There will be no poetry slam tonight because the health inspector is shutting them down, and she refuses to believe that this is possible. It's unacceptable behavior. And we left with the door opening, both so that the bartender could throw her out and so that the health inspector could come in.
Yeah. Do we want to establish any more scenes in Act 2 before we move on?
I would like to introduce a character coming in to lead into Act 3.
Yeah, go for it.
Right. So she's knocking on these doors, but the thing is that these are university doors, so they have the big ugly window in the middle of all of them. So she can see all of the professors in their offices taking one look at her. Again, right now it was on the screen, the character of the vampire drawing with the wild long hair, the ears sticking out, the red eyes. That's pretty much what Frankie looks like right now, including the dress. They take one look at her and they lean over the desk to lock the door. And she's going through, growling intermittently at these doors and locks. She also can't touch all of them because some of them have nickel and silver mixed components, so it's a little bit difficult for her to rattle on the door. So she's going door to door. It's taking forever. Some of them are getting slammed in her face if they're already open. They're getting locked in her face. One of them doesn't even bother to do any of it. They just lock eyes with her and go, "Over my dead body." And she goes, "I could do that." Then they lock the door. So she's coming down the hallway and she's reaching the last few doors. And suddenly she hears this higher pitched, feminine voice yelling on the phone. Very much self-righteous. "You don't know what you're talking about. You and your boys club, blah, blah, blah." And so she's like, "Okay, intriguing. Let's check this out." And she rounds the corner and it's the only office at the end that has a beaded curtain instead of a door. The door is there. You can't get rid of the door, but in front of the door, there's a beaded curtain.
The door is always open.
Slightly open. It's always open. The beaded curtain is rainbow colored. It's little plastic beads. It looks extremely tacky.
Yeah.
It's almost identical to the one that Brandy, the player, had for many, many years until it started getting stuck in my hair when I went through, and that just became a hazard. But so regardless, Frankie does not have this problem quite. I mean, if it gets stuck on anything, it'll get stuck on her massive ears. And she turns around the corner and she sees this like professor who looks about her age. She's got bright green hair that's been like buzz cutted off the side, and she's wearing like a crop top and like loose pants and flip-flops, and her office is very eclectic. It's covered in like Funko Pops and like a lot of like vampire lore stuff. Like there's Buffy posters, there's everything. Every major piece of vampire merchandise is all over the place. There's the Nosferatu Funko as like dead center, no pun intended. And so taking all of this in, she looks around and she's like, do you work in the English department? And like the professor holds up a finger and is like, yeah, I said that about your mother. Yeah, deal with it, and hangs up. And Frankie's like intrigued and like, okay.
What's the nameplate on this office?
The nameplate says Professor Amelia. Let's see, Professor Amelia. I almost said Thermopolis. That is copyright infringement. Sorry. We can't use her quite. Yeah, Caldwell. Professor Amelia Caldwell. That's a nice English name.
Yeah.
But there's a sticky note attached to it that's shaped like a flower, and it just says Amy. And so she like comes in and she's like, Professor Caldwell. And Professor Caldwell does her spiel, hangs up the phone, and she goes, Amy. The door says Amy. Sick ears. And immediately Frankie is like, are they sick? Are they fine? They should be fine. I don't feel sick. I don't have an ear infection. And Amy just goes, huh. So you're into vampires too? And immediately Frankie's like, I'm as much as any passing human is interested in mythology. And she looks around and she's like, and media. And Amy goes, yeah, I'm new. I'm in the English department, but I teach multimedia analysis. And immediately Frankie's like intrigued. And Amy's like, come, grab a pillow, because there are no chairs in this office. There are only pillows. They're not even seating pillows. They're like decorative pillows. Like one of them says live, laugh, love. And it looks like she just kind of grabbed all of them out of like the sales area of a store without
The
caring about the
clearance,
design.
like Michael's clearance sale sort of thing.
Exactly. It's a lot. But it also looks like she grabbed a lot of them during the Halloween clearance sale. So a lot of them are like spooky puns, or like one. So Frankie grabs one that says, I don't know, like rest your boo tea. And she just goes, okay. And she sits on it and she's on the floor. Amy is on the desk. The height difference is very big. But Amy does not seem to care or notice, and like leans back and is like, let me tell you about multimedia studies. And like it fades out.
I have another name for a pillow. That's some boo shit.
That is definitely a pillow in the office. That is a decorative plaque in the office, because it is wall to wall covered in mismatched crap.
Cross stitch.
Wow.
Mhm.
Wow. What a time of our lives. Oh goodness. Alrighty. I think if we're extending some other bits of the act too, I think after a long period of time, Amrit would have gotten through to the vending machine, and by gotten through, he pressed his limbs into the vending machine pocket, started rattling it, and there's like a child that walks by that's staring at him, and he goes, "They took back my sunblock."
Okay,
And this kid-
mister.
Boy.
and he just rattles it, and after kind of reaching his limit, has a brief moment when the camera pans close to his face. All right, it is time that I get serious, and suplexes the vending machine onto the ground. Just breaking, just breaking the vending machine. All of these bottles now come flying out, and he grabs like a whole armful of all of these like bottles of sunblock, and heads towards the locker room again and begins lathering himself in white layers of sunblock. That'd be the thing I would extend just a little bit.
I feel with Lola, it's a single finger typing, and like I feel like at this point they've managed to only finish like one of
God.
30 pages, and there's like one like elderly person who looks like maybe the media lab like caretaker or whatever. You see the lights starting to turn off as it's like, okay, it's getting close to end of day, and it's like are you gonna finish up? And it's like, yay, I have an application. The deadline is I think midnight tonight. I just need like 5 more minutes. And the caretaker's like, all right, 5 more minutes. And then it pans to the whole page 1 of 30, and I just click next, and it's now like this huge, like, have to write an essay of why I want to be in design school. And I feel like that's where it cuts to commercial break, and I feel like this is a we've been
a little bit, if you don't mind.
Oh, yes, sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that as I think like as you hear just like more and more like that tick clack tick, it kind of morphs into the jingle of the bell in the tavern as the door opens and in walks the health inspector, who is like very much clean cut, straight laced person, and they're wearing like a very prominent cross on a chain around their neck, and they're on one side the name tag says like Joey Pearson, and on the other one there's like a little button that it's like Jesus is my co-pilot.
Oh boy.
Oh no.
And so right as the bartender is trying to get me out the door and Joey comes in and like we kind of collide, and the cross hits like just right where like the suit like my suit jacket and my button up is just that first button was undone in preparation for battle.
Mm-hmm.
And the cross hits me right there, and you hear and smell this little like sizzle, kind of like when you put a steak on the very hot grill for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And I leap backwards, pushing Joey the other way. I'm like, no. Ah! Like my hands become these claws, like at the end of my nails.
Oh no.
Why? I just wanted a poetry slam. And both the bartender and Joey look a little bit confused. But Joey says, you know, I understand the importance of the arts in propagating good works. But I do have to check out and see if there are vermin in this establishment. We got to go by the book. The good book.
Oh.
At which point I'm like, I have to take a big step back because your faith is like, it's like a little, he becomes a little radiant.
Mhm.
It's kind of like a mini sun. And I really, really don't like it. But they start to go on about the good book and how we are given ordinances for the safety of establishments for a reason. And it is for the good of the general public. And they go on and on and on. And the bartender's eyes start to cross a little bit. But since they have kind of like
I have a
toned down just a
question.
hair, go ahead.
Is that eye crossing also bad for you?
I start to wonder, like, it for just a second when the bartender's eyes cross, I think he's going to make the sign of the cross. And I take another very large step back from both of them. But it turns out he was just crossing his fingers, so it's okay. But so we go, and it's this big, like, Joey brings out a big checklist, and it's like a 30-page checklist of things that they need to check out for the tavern to reopen. And they just do not know how long it's going to take, but you know, it takes what it takes. And I just want the poetry slam to go on, and I want to know how I could speed up this process and minimize my contact with Joey and their giant cross and their good book.
I mean, you could always do, what is it, a book slam?
Let Swati slam.
Yes, let's Swati slam.
Please.
Like, you just get the mental image of like just cuts to Swati's fantasy of just slamming everyone.
What music is playing? What epic music is playing in the background as you have that fantasy sequence?
Mhm.
It's like a giant Down with the Sickness.
Yes.
The entire poetry slam has turned into a mosh pit.
Yes.
And there's like
Yes.
slow-mo of like the slam and the like action sequence
And
with that music playing, blaring.
Mhm. And just like in the middle of it, you see Swati, and she rears back and she says, "Oh, wow!" And then you cut back, and Joey is still going on about the regulations.
Oh no. Oh no.
Mhm.
Oh no.
Oh no.
And I feel like with that, if there isn't anything else to add, that is a wonderful end to Act 2. And our show goes into a commercial break. And I feel like we can actually talk a little bit about what commercials are. It seems like over time, the commercials are getting more and more sort of weird-ish. What sort of commercials do you think play in that break?
If I may, I have like an idea for a fourth wall break type commercial thing for the show.
Yes.
Because we're always here for some self-awareness.
Yes.
So I think the commercial cuts to like a very obviously not from this episode scene of the roommates at night watching TV. And they're just watching and acting like it's totally normal for human beings to be, awake all night, and not even pretend to be really tired. And then like the first, like they're watching some sitcom, something very similar to their own life, and then suddenly it cuts
Just
to
like me.
commercial. It cuts to commercial, and it's like, do you see 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., or even 4 a.m. every morning? Not because you're poring over your life's work or because you're the world's most exuberant early bird, but because you haven't fallen asleep yet. Put your insomnia to bed with nocturnal rest, all natural sleep. And then it cuts off, and they like the person with the remote just like cuts it to the next channel. And the next channel is also like, do you have all the late night infomercials memorized? But not because you're obsessed with acting now to double your order, but because you haven't fallen asleep yet. Put your insomnia to bed with nocturnal, and it just cuts it again. And like everybody's getting a little tense. And they cut through like 8 or like so different channels, just trying to find something else. And then finally they find like the version of like maybe like Jeopardy, and they're like, oh, okay, this is fine. And then the host of Jeopardy goes, and we're just gonna cut to a quick commercial break. And immediately, does your step counter show you've made it halfway to your step goal for the day before 7 a.m.? Not because you're the get up and run 5 miles before work type, but because you haven't fallen asleep yet. Put your insomnia to bed with nocturnal rest. And they just turn the TV off and are like, do you want to watch a movie? I think we should watch a movie.
Yeah, we could watch Blade. That's a really good horror movie.
Yeah. Love a good Blade. I mean, Blade's action sequences are very, very relatable, I think.
But
I
yeah,
will
that's
say, like, that one
that's
gives
the
me
little
some
thing.
nightmares.
Oh God, valid. So that's that's like maybe one of the commercial breaks between acts of the show, between parts of the show. Little fourth wall break commercial for insomnia medication for vampires.
It could also be a trailer as well for like the new age vampire romance movie that'll be coming out this spooky season. And you just have like another breaking of the fourth wall, where you just have someone who looks just so painfully like Amrit, but very, very clearly human and overly dramatic and totally overdrawn. And they just have this scene where it's just like, well, how long have you been 21? And just Amrit like character just goes, for a significant amount of time. And then just like and I know I am catering this joke to a very niche group of people, but like a Yash Chopra movie, the camera pans away to mountains and the lands of Punjab as the new Bollywood movie for this this vampire romance at the center concludes its trailer with soulful music by A.R. Rahman. Why not? We can hire him.
Yep. It's like a banger track, but the movie is probably gonna be trash.
Yeah. Oh, you get the Lata Mangeshkar like vocalization in the background. She goes like, ah.
And there's like a beautiful woman running in an absolutely transparent sari, and this dude who looks like Shah Rukh Khan is just like angel wings raised arms, and there's like a slow motion of both of them like heading towards each other. Oh my goodness.
I'm catering that commercial to a specific crowd, and I hope we all enjoy it.
It was the perfect commercial. I will watch that movie.
I will also
learn
watch
those
that
dances.
So watch that.
I think in that vein of like fourth wall breaking, super specific, the next commercial is actually for a food delivery service. It's like, tired of being surprised by garlic in your food. Allergies are nothing to be dusted over. sign up for ABO home delivery, where your meal comes to you as fresh as it could be. And the image is just like it's nighttime. There is like happy music playing, and you see like the door, the person who like before was like, the garlic in this food is now like all happy, opens the door, and there's a delivery person there. They're not holding anything.
That took me a minute for a second.
No.
When only the freshest will do. ABO
Wow.
is there for you.
Sorry, I just looked at chat and I was like, oh.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
And no, I'm not getting all Omega verse here. Not today.
Not today. Some other time.
I am totally not doing producer things in the background.
No,
I am-
totally not.
I am very, very professional. So, I feel like with that, my ad would be oh my god, how do I stop that?
Oh no.
That is so good. Anybody else has ad ideas, please go ahead while I do certain things.
Let's see. There's like there could be like an ad for vitamins for humans, but instead of making you healthier, the person doing the voiceover keeps slipping up and saying tastier. So it's a lot like let's see, like VitaFunds, adult vitamins are gummy snack vitamins that appeal to your local to your local doctor who might experience difficulty finding nutritious vitamins to give human beings. This gummy
Available.
snack,
Available in raspberry,
Yep.
cranberry, and strawberry,
yep, and cherry.
and cherry.
Yep. And it's like this gummy snack is of interest to busy people who've just not got the time to make sure that they are making themselves as nutrient rich, as healthy as possible. And as like the commercials playing, it becomes increasingly obvious that this is Frankie's voice. And because it slips in between the actual like commercial like type voice where it's like statistics show that overall people that have vitamins a lot later in life tend to tend to live longer. And so it like slips back and forth and becomes increasingly more unhinged towards the end and is like, well, we know you're busy and you want to spend what free time you have doing human activities like we all do and not fighting around eating yucky dinner. And then like this like little green screen thing where like all of the drug info was being put up is like crinkled a little and like you hear like mild like cursing and like you see like Frankie accidentally like pop into camera just like half a face be like and like goes back and is like and you should consult a doctor to see if Comexa is right for you. Cut. And then it cuts
Yep.
out.
And I think now, I think we now get into Act 3, which is avoid stakes. So all the plot points we have going resolves, and we try to reach our last obstacle, pull out all the stops, and we either succeed or fail. And at some point, all of us are together in the scene. We also think about how our goals might intersect. And oh yeah, somebody almost finds out your secret. And with that, where do we want to begin with our first scene in Act 3?
We can start with Amy's office.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, cut back to the most wonderful professor, in my opinion.
Yes, I can't name names, but I hope somewhere my actual professor who this is based off of feels this and feels appreciated. But yes, so Amy is like leaning. So when we left Amy, she was leaning back on her desk, extremely badass, saying like, "Let me introduce you to the world of intermedial studies." And now it zooms back in on Frankie's face. Blood red eyes, wide, like just expression, like she's just been shown a whole new world. Because she had never heard of this before. And it's so new. Even relatively speaking, it's a new area of study. And she was like, whoa, this is amazing. And she like drops a few of her like theories of like, a few of her facts that were usually contested. And Amy goes, I know, right? And instantly she's like, oh. She's having also a little bit of gay panic because they are roughly the same age. And she's just like, oh my, okay, interesting plot development. And she like looks at the camera, like directly at the camera, and it's like, okay. And like turns back to Amy and is like, so if I'm in the English department, technically you could be my thesis advisor. And Amy's like, yeah, of course, but we have to see if we're compatible. And immediately she's like, compatible? Like in combat? And Amy just starts laughing like she made a really funny joke. And Frankie's like, ha 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 ha. And Amy's just like grinning at her because she's like endlessly amused. And Amy's just like, well, you see, there's only one thing in the world I love more than film studies. And immediately, like, Frankie's just like mentally go through like this Rolodex. This is like mental image of like Frankie's brain, like a cartoon, this like Rolodex, like really old fashioned one. There's like a little cartoon Frankie being like, what are humans interested in? Dogs, cats, is it puppies? And then Amy says vampires, and the little like Rolodex version cartoon Frankie just like record scratch, freeze, huh? And it pans back to like actual Frankie in the office being like, what? Vampire? You love vampires? And Amy's just like, yeah, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna get along. You love them so much, you cosplay as them, which like kudos to you. Where did you get those contact lenses? And Frankie's just like sweating because Amy's getting very close and Frankie's like trying to figure out how to avoid this happening because Amy is now reaching out and touching her ears and is like, Jesus, this is the most soft silicone I have ever. Did you lace like micro-sized hairs on this for realism? And like for Frankie, like somebody is now pulling on her ear and she's like, oh, okay, ouch. And then Amy's like, oh no, I'm sorry, are they glued on? And Frankie just goes, uh-huh, because that's what people do. That's what people do for sure. And Amy is poking and prodding, and Frankie is running out of answers. And Amy's getting very close, and between the gay panic, the like joy at like potentially being like, okay, we could work together on something, and Amy's completely oblivious to all of this. It's just like, I would love to cosplay like this. Frankie's got like this like bead of like sweat that's coming down, which is impressive because vampires don't usually sweat. So she's really breaking the laws of physics. She's so frazzled. and it pauses like on her like panicked face directly into the camera and like cuts to the next
Can
scene.
I interject a little bridge? I think that will bring it together.
Yes.
You see at this point that the grad student that was helping Lola to the computer lab passes by Amy's office and says, "Well, Amy, I'm heading out for the day. There was this really weird person in like some weird like doll cosplay trying to fill a form, yeah, just I gotta go." And sort of is like, I guess I'm just clocking out. Ooh, and sort of looks at Frankie and is like, "Oh, another cosplayer, huh? I guess the design department is really attracting those sort of folks."
Oh, wow.
And sort of
Love
heads
that.
off. So you know where
I know where Lola is.
yep.
Yep.
And yeah, it cuts to I think at this point it'll cut to who wants to go next between Swati and Amrit.
I could go.
Yeah, you can
If-
go. Yeah, that makes sense.
Or did you want to?
No, I was gonna say that it makes sense for like everyone to kind of meet up at the stadium afterwards at the end,
Yeah.
because that's what we established in Act 1.
Mhm.
I think that we come back and you have the scene of Joey and the bartender, Rick, going through, and Joey is like very slowly like examining pieces and marking off items on the checklist. They've gone through like 2 pages. There's 17 more pages to go. And meanwhile, Swati is behind them, like vibrating with anxiety, because it's like just a few minutes until the poetry slam is supposed to start. A crowd has started to gather around the outside of the tavern. They want to know what the holdup is. And she is like literally vibrating at this point. There's a slight blurring effect when you look at her.
Oh,
And every once in a while, like Rick gets kind of a like that chill up his spine. He's like, "What is happening?" And he turns around and Swati just goes very still, an inch away from his neck.
oh,
Like perfectly normal, just looking over your shoulder. Just like all humans do.
Yep.
Totally a human thing.
yes.
And he goes back and he gets, and like Joey moves on to the next thing on their checklist. And so after a few minutes of this, like Swati's checking her pocket watch over and over again. She carries 5 of them just to make sure that they're all at the correct time. They're each from a different century. It's like, I can't deal with this.
No.
And just like goes like right as Joey is like, okay, and on to item number 39. You know, 39 is my favorite number. There's a psalm in the greatest book. And right then she just breaks. She's like, you know what? Drastic measures must be taken. And just turns around and like runs out of the tavern straight into the throng of poets, which is really like 5 people.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yep.
And she's like, change of venue. Due to unforeseen rat circumstances, no one could have ever have anticipated that a swarm of rats would cause this much trouble. Ever. It makes no sense. we are relocating the poetry slam to the stadium because slams belong in arenas.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. I'm into it.
And I think at this point we cut to Lola, who is still on page 2 of like 30, and it's like already an hour later. And and at this point you hear the person who was sort of taking care of the lab just snoring, was just waiting and fell asleep. And I feel like at some point like the power just cuts off and it's like about to press click and then lights out, like an automatic like shut off of the lab. And it's like, oh no, no.
No.
What a mood. Oh,
And
You were so close.
that was
Well,
so
that hurt.
close. And then suddenly there's like this kind of like almost rage radiating out of Lola. Eyes are glowing red, and at this point there's like I am going to go back to school if this is the last thing I do. And there's like this kind of buildup of feelings. And I feel like if Frankie is somewhere, probably can even sense it at this point. Like it's kind of just permeating through the walls. And there's like a sudden like snap and just like, oh, I suppose I could just bamboozle the professors and just be a student. I don't have to fill this form. And there's like this like weird kind of like record scratch. And just like, well, I guess I should go find the professors now. And and Lola just kind of gets up and starts walking towards the endless hall of doors. At this point,
I like to think that there was like a random passerby student
mm-hmm.
who got caught up in the wave of feelings.
Yep.
mhm.
It's like, what am I doing
as you
with my
enter
life?
the hallway? Yeah, it's like it just has gone into like a full-on like spiral of existential crisis.
Been there.
Yep.
Yep,
Why am I even
same.
studying this?
Like English is a useless major anyway. My parents were right.
No.
No. I could have just written fanfics. I did write fanfics. Like multiple students are now having these kind
So
of
many.
and
So many students.
yeah, I feel at this point oh, words. Yeah, at this point sort of Lola just kind of just gets up and heads towards and sort of just is starting to do the whole knock 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 and knocking on doors with silver handles,
Mm-hmm.
and is going, hello, who teaches design? I would very much like to design. And he sort of like yeah, and I think Frankie might start hearing
Yep.
just sort of like, hello.
Mhm. And if I may, I think that like Frankie like hears it and also felt that like wave and was like, whoa, that is a totally normal human like signal for distress. I have to go. And like it's perfect because Amy is truly in her face, like trying to like figure out like the quality of the contacts and like how and like the fangs. And it's like, wow, you have your teeth filed and like it's very much a lot going on. And hearing Lola's cry, like kind of call, immediately Frankie just like shoots up from the pillow, knocks over several in the process with the like just circumference of her dress, and goes, I hear my flatmate. I think she needs help. Do you know anyone here who teaches design by chance? And Amy just goes, I don't think anybody in this building, but you know, I can probably take the form for her and just submit it. I mean, I have the key to the teacher's like common area. I don't care. And like, she's like, okay, cool. I'll go get her. And she just like runs out of the room and is like looking for Lola.
Yeah, Lola's like 2 doors away going, hello, are you in the design department? I too am a design student and would like to meet with you. Hello. Oh, hello. I did not expect you here. This is the design building, yes?
No. So Frankie just goes, this is the English building. I showed you this when we got here. But do you have your form with you?
Well, I was trying to write down my form in this like Gutenberg machine.
Ah, yes.
And I was pressing buttons when suddenly the power went out.
Do you still have the paper form from this morning?
Yeah, here you go.
Okay. And like Frankie takes it, looks it over, and is like, surely this is good enough. And she goes, I have a new supervisor, Amy. She said she could put the form in for you.
Ah, wonderful. Do you need me to have a conversation with her?
Sure, why not? Because like in her head, she's like, the less focus there is on me right now, the better. And she like grabs Lola's arm and is like, immediately, let's go. And is like pulls her in. The beaded curtain is getting all tangled because 2 vampires are now trying to go through it with like extensive clothing.
Yeah,
and so there's like a bit of like there's just like a bit of fumbling and like getting tied up, and like they got tied up together for a second and then apart and then like in a weird position, and they finally got out and they're like, okay, heavy breathing. Whew. Next time we go in one by one. And she like hands the form to Amy, and Amy looks over at Lola and is like, nice dress, like nice fit.
Thank you. I made it myself yesterday.
Sick.
And that's not true. It's like 100 years old.
Right. Sick. You should definitely be in the design department.
Yes.
I'll make sure this gets to the right person. Don't you worry. You'll get an email
You will
soon.
make sure I get into the department.
Oh God.
You did say I could talk to them.
Yep. And like immediately Amy just goes, I will make sure that you get into the design department. And immediately like Frankie's just like, okay, great.
Oh,
Cool.
and you will approve Frankie's thesis.
And
You're
immediately Frankie
welcome.
goes, oh, thank you. That's so kind of you to use some human persuasion. But she already approved me, so we're gonna be working together, right?
Okay.
And then Amy's still all like hazy and is like, mm-hmm.
Oh,
you're
do
gonna
you
show
want-
me where you got your fangs. And Frankie goes, no, I am not.
You will not ask about the fangs.
Yes, human persuasion.
Yeah, Amy's starting to look a little drunk because this is a lot of persuasion to use on one person, very
Yep.
quick succession. Amy looks a little tipsy. Luckily, the other professors won't notice or care because she day drinks a lot anyway, here and there, just in moderation because it's fun. It's like she's like one of those people where like if she was a mom, she'd be like, "This is mom's fun juice." And so
It's microdosing.
Exactly. And so she like nods, she looks a little bit drunk. Frankie's getting a little concerned for her, and Frankie's like, hey, shouldn't we get to the sports event for the sports people? We should get to the
Yes.
sports event for the sports people.
Yes.
We're
we
gonna
should
miss
do
all
that.
of the slamming. She still thinks there's gonna be slamming in the sport, even though it has now been explained to her that there is no slamming in the sport. She still hopes
yes.
there's going to be some slamming,
Yes,
maybe some
let us-
recreational.
Let us go to the slamming thing.
Mhm.
Bye, Amy.
And
as we're
immediately,
heading-
Frankie's like, "Stop it! You're gonna get her wasted."
Oh my god.
Of course. And I just say bye, but without the.
Yep. And Amy's like, "Oodaloo."
I feel like now several paths are converging as I think the three of us finally kind of bump into each other in the way, and I say, "Oh, how is your poetry slam?"
The venue got overrun. Well, you know what? I really just don't understand what people's problem with rats are. But we have found a new venue. We will have the slam at the stadium because our slam deserves the best arena with the most people. And like
Yes!
behind Swati, all 5 of the poets are like, yes, a crowd to appreciate our genius.
What do these
Oh.
random poets look like behind you?
You have one who is the total beat poet. So it's all black, like turtleneck, beret, and then a
Pascal.
couple others who are like performance artists. And really like the poetry they put into the slam is kind of more performance art, but they're able, because it's so small to begin with, they just accept it. And then you have a couple of like super emo teens who are only let into the tavern for the poetry slam, but their parents pay and give them a premium to like make sure that they don't drink while they're there. They drink anyway.
Yeah.
And then and yeah, so that's, and you have one like just random stay-at-home dad who is he keeps all his poetry in the old diaper bag. His kids outgrew it like 6 years ago, but so now it's just his, it's his artistic license bag. It's covered in cartoon bunnies and giraffes.
My goodness, I love these people. I really want to see this poetry slam happen.
I am
Where
very excited.
where is Amrit at this point as we are slowly heading towards the sports event?
While you're all, as soon as the camera pans at all of these poets, and Swati is speaking about having these folk have their time to shine amongst the people, amongst the crowd, the poetry slam in this grand arena. inspiring music plays in the background as the camera pans down towards the dugout just before they step onto the field. The coach is sitting there. He's looking at all the players, and the camera's on him, and he says, "This is an important game. We win this, we'll be in the national championships. Now I know this year has been long and hard, and prep for this day has not been easy." And as soon as he says that, the camera switches perspectives, and you see Amrit covered in just layers upon layers of sunblock and layers of clothing, and there's even like almost like a ski mask over his face with the helmet on top. He's just like nodding too vigorously at the part where he says the prep for this day has been hard. But this stadium, this field is our home. So you go out there and you show these players that this is your turf. And everyone all these athletes get really, really hyped. And Amrit feels himself being like just magically being pushed out as soon as the coach has called this field a home. And as they all big hype run onto the field, and he just kind of just stands there just outside of the line boundary for the field to enter upon. The coach is like, all right, what do you need? Fucking invitation? Get in there. Yes, I do actually. Can I? Would you invite me onto the field? It's like, I'm like, get into the field. Thank you. Hops pass, and they do the lineup. The first part of the game starts, and the teams are neck and neck. The Amrit has been very, very careful in not getting hit, but whenever he does get contacted upon, parts of the sunblock rub off onto other people, and
like a thick goo on little place.
Yeah, there are people who like tackle him like, oh jeez.
Wait, does that actually make you more like people don't want to be near you because they're just like it's greasy and slippery, and it's like a piece of clothing kind of just flies off every time they like a greased eel.
Oh my god.
So that, and also the fact that the while this is all happening, he doesn't run on the field. He is still like 3 inches above the ground, just floating and weaving around and just trying to ensure that he doesn't get tackled, and makes people go even more like, why is he walking like this? It's like he's a vampire. Jeez. And the game goes on, and as soon as the first half is over, which is when I'm assuming everyone arrives into the arena.
Yeah. Your marching band of slam poets.
Marching band of poets. They're getting ready for the second half. You see Amrit right behind many of the receivers, and they look up and gaze at the small army of poets headed into the arena.
Oh my god.
So, and he's just like, oh look, it is my friends. Ball hits his face like, oops. Grabs the ball and continues running. The game is still going on. I'm wondering where the poets are and where you are going to take up shop in this arena, because it's all field in my head.
Field and like I feel like it's like a oval, like a football arena, American football, sort of a similar thing.
Mm-hmm.
I guess in my mind, I thought of it as like you have the field, and then you have kind of a track around the field.
And
then you have the stands.
Yes.
And the stands are broken up on either end by arches that lead back to like other places. And and we are coming out through one of the arches in a very gloriously coming through, but we are an inglorious procession because it's like 9 people and none of us are.
Are 3 of us sizzling right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We start to like,
in.
as we step out,
Mhm.
it's like you kind of feel a little like, it's like, because we're still shaded a little bit by the archway.
Mhm.
Like as we take those first steps out, there's just like, it's almost, you could almost believe it was steam if it didn't smell quite so much like burning.
Right. Mhm.
Oh no. Oh God. Okay.
God. All right.
All right. Okay. In the second half, Amrit is still kind of, it reaches a point where a lot of the sunscreen, the sunblock, has now fallen off of what his exposed skin is. So now every time he runs out, he feels bits of him are burning off. I think there'll be one person who runs towards him that kind of has to shield their eyes a little bit because they're just seeing like bright, kind of like a magnifying glass burning a leaf. The bright light kind of almost feels like it's reflected back onto their eyes. And they're just kind of like, and he's just kind of like, just kind of like moving and weaving as steam is pouring off of him. And then like 3 or 4 different like meaty lads, like proper, like really English rugby lads, just ambush him and jump on top of him. And you hear the coach on the opposite side just kind of go, "Get in, lads, get in!" As they are like piling onto this, like, mind you, like Amrit's pretty small, he's pretty thin. It's a miracle he's on the rugby team. And then referee's whistle goes and the flag drops onto the ground. And all of them kind of have to pull themselves away. Bits of greasy sunblock come off of them. But before they could fully disengage from Amrit, he just, out of just habit perhaps, bursts out from and pushes them all like 5 feet away and jumps back up. And then they were all like, geez, dude, the ref put the flag down. And he's like, "All is fair in love and war. I will see you next on the arena." And then saunters off. And as he's thinking in his head that he just made the coolest, like the camera pans over to him with the shading just right, that he said just something really cool and important. And then immediately in the next second, they pan out from when he's walking full body and goes, "Ow, ow, ow, ow."
Where did the 3 of us go once we realized what these lights are?
Frankie nopes out of that immediately and like just stops walking. She's like, "Nope, nope, nope. I haven't had a burn," and like out loud, but like very under her breath. So like it's not only the camera, like the audience hears it, but like she just goes, "I haven't had a burn in 500 years. I am not breaking that streak now." And she just like starts to like back up and be like, "You know what? I think I can see the game perfectly from here." And she goes into like the shade, like pressed into the shade of the archway, and is like, "This is the best vantage point for watching sports."
I completely agree with you, fellow roommate.
I think you have a point.
And
But-
we're 3 like forming a barricade now to the arch.
What about the poets? Are we gonna slam
I think-
anyone?
The poets, like, as I see that the game is still going on, they like trickle up into the field, like into the stands, and they're like, "Oh man, this is actually pretty good. Who's the new guy?"
Cute.
Like, interesting strategy.
Like, Frankie looks over and is like, "I'm sorry you didn't get to slam any poets."
I am mightily disappointed, but it is a monthly competition. There is
Okay.
always next time.
Why?
Maybe we shall join you next time. I would love to smash some poets. Slam some poets.
We could team slam. I mean,
And I can check out the latest fashion.
we are all about teamwork,
Mhm.
humanity.
Yes.
Yes.
Humanity.
Humanity. Although it's really cool, those smoke effects coming out from our... Is that our flatmate?
Oh yeah. Do they give him like a
Ow. Ow.
is that like a new
I think it's part of, you know how in the Wii sometimes they have special effects?
yes?
Maybe
that's
they
what I
have
was
started
trying to
doing
say.
that in the sports team here. I
It's
didn't realize they had gotten the budget for it.
more of the melding of entertainment and competition.
I wonder what the new name will be. Perhaps the Flaming Sports.
I think
Person.
so. I think so.
Oh no.
The flaming object to be catched.
And
Blot
I like to
bug.
think at this point he can kind of like see y'all kind of duck into the arch. He just goes, says hi.
Come into the shade. It is very nice, and it is the perfect viewing angle for the game.
Mhm.
We have
he
found the best optics.
he like ducks in and he's just like, ooh, yes, that is. These lights are. I am allergic to these lights.
Those allergies, you really can't escape them.
I can't.
Mhm.
It is part of the burden and beauty of being human is our flaws,
Our vulnerability.
our vulnerability,
Our mortality. Mhm.
Our fragile.
more
How any untoward accident might end our mortal existence.
Yes.
yes
In a
yes.
split second.
We
In
are
a
just
split
eggs
second.
waiting to be dropped and have all our yolk and whites be splattered on the surface of life.
A shell
Yes,
crushed
quite.
beneath the boot of a passing lord.
I feel like the
Bodies turning into
poetry
ash.
slam people are now like clicking as we're somehow coming up with some weird poetry. Inadvertently having an actual poetry slam.
Yeah. As we're talking about the mortality and fragility of life.
Yes.
But you all kind of see like Amrit is looking like incredibly lethargic, and like the color has kind of what little color he had before, from being he is a brown skin but still on the paler side of it, like that blood is just kind of seeped behind, and now he's looking like eyes are more duller and everything like that. He's just kind of like, oh, I am so tired. I wish I could have a refreshing red beverage.
Yes, I saw these commercials for a wonderful liquid multivitamin that comes in, I think, raspberry, strawberry, cherry, and what was the other berry?
Cranberries.
Cranberries, yes.
Yes.
I am particularly fond of the as you can see in my room, the many red liquids that I drink.
Ah, yes.
I make
is the
sure
best
to
flavor.
I make sure to add my liquid vitamins to my shake every morning, as
I-
we
I
should
usually-
all
We should
head
do as
home.
humans.
Maybe we could
Yes.
order from ABO too.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
we
Let's
can,
order in tonight.
Let's
Mhm.
order in tonight. And you see like someone kind of like walks past the arch where you are, probably like getting snacks or whatever, and heading back towards the stands. And you see Amrit. His mouth opens agape. And I'm going to say that you all notice the fangs. He's so tired, he just walls completely crumble as his fangs show.
My, what wonderful incisors you have, or canines you have.
Yes, I have wonderful canines. My jaw is a strange mutation.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mutations are totally human.
Yeah.
They are very
Yes.
human. I have them myself because her fangs don't retract. They're just always there. They just don't stick out of her mouth. She's like, ah, yes, I too have had a mutation before. It is very human, much like our allergies and our common dislike for garlic.
Oh my
have
god,
good
the both
taste.
of you? Me three.
Yeah.
And I also have this mutation. This totally human and normal mutation.
We are just four very normal, fragile, mutated eggs.
We're
Waiting
just,
to be dropped.
We're just
Yes.
eggs.
I'm also not a fan of steaks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
I
go
mean,
home.
even steak tartare is a little overdone, I think.
Oh, gross. Doesn't that usually have garlic in it?
Sometimes. And then they have this thing with mayo in it. And then there's this one place that put raisins in it as well.
Stop. Stop. Don't even.
They have to put fruit in everything.
Oh.
Mhm.
Yes, I would definitely wish to go home as soon as I prove my dominance over Callum Scott, and he marches back to the field for the final, because the final break of the tournament, because the ref was reviewing the incidents that happened earlier, and everyone was saying that Amrit was behaving weirdly, and the referees were side-eyeing him the entire time. But they let them re-enter, and the match ends in a draw. And you you see Amrit as he kind of like walks back to you after the match is concluded, staring daggers at this Callum Scott, and he goes, "My fangs will not forget you yet, Callum Scott."
Oh, boy. I love that.
Yeah. And
Like,
I feel
as they're like watching. Sorry, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
So as they were watching, Frankie like looks around and sees a still slightly out of it but extremely enthusiastic Amy in the stands, who like kind of like spots her a little bit, like peeking out from under the archway, and like waves at her like super enthusiastically, and like Frankie just like gives her like a hesitant like wave back and like pulls back under the archway, but she's like really happy and she's excited.
Nice. And I think with that, our third act ends, and we will now get into our little stinger, which is a final group scene that is an epilogue for our characters for this wonderful game. I feel like it would be like how in the MCU the end of the movie they're all just sitting and eating.
Yeah.
So what did we order from ABO?
What did we order for ABO?
Oh boy. Maybe
You know, I
some-
think
Mhm,
oh,
go ahead.
I was just thinking like they cover for themselves as like a milkshake company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so if we each have a different milkshake flavor, like the cherry and the raspberry and the cranberry.
Yep. And there's
And-
like a fruit on each of the, like, visibly from the cup it looks like, oh, this is like a jamba juice sort of a drink.
Uh-huh.
Yep. Sure.
Yep.
Yep.
They
Mhm.
are
Yep.
all very, very red.
And we're all
Mhm,
sitting on
mhm.
the couch at the end. We're all
protein shake.
tired
Yep.
with our shakes. Just it's like dead silent. And there's like this like insomnia ad playing off the TV. And it's just like this like slurping like from everybody
Yeah.
the entire
Yep.
time.
Yep. I think we should not be shaming people for being late sleepers and
No,
waking up later.
I mean,
People
there's like
have different
security.
schedules.
Yeah, there's like security guards and I guess just people night school. I mean, that's a thing, right?
Night
Yeah,
school is
yeah,
a thing,
night school.
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And you know,
Yes.
people just have different biological clocks.
Mhm.
Some of us are night owls. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
some of us are owls at night, and some of us are night owls.
Exactly.
And some
Mhm.
of us are
Yes.
bats.
And some of us
Some
are
of us
bats.
are bats. I love a good bat.
And some of them are
Frankie's wings are
wolves.
like poking out a little bit on the couch, but since it's behind everyone, nobody can see them. But the audience can see that like the wings are just like chilling.
And some of them are wolves, and you see like a little like a furry a tail just sticking out, just resting
And-
casually.
And really,
you
what's
know,
wrong with rats anyway?
I think rats are lovely. I mean, the plague, that was excellent work.
That was excellent work. Very efficient.
And a lot of mortals like rats, like Skinner,
Mhm.
Yes, 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 yes.
they
There
designed a
was
whole
that
maze.
there was that wonderful show about the rat who taught the turtles how to fight for their territory.
Yeah.
We love that.
It
And
was a
you
wonderful
know-
documentary.
Mhm.
And you know, when people call other humans vampires, you know, as if it is an insult. What's wrong with being a vampire? I say. What is wrong?
Vampires are
Yeah.
great. Wonderful,
Yes.
wonderful people.
Amy
Great
has this,
experience.
and like Frankie has this like dreamy look on her face. She's like, Amy loves vampires. Fully disregarding whether or not she's explained to anyone who Amy is, except for Lola.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Who's Amy? Who is this Amy?
oh, she's gonna be my new advisor. She
Oh,
loves
yes.
vampires.
And loves and will make sure the thesis goes through. I
She will.
spoke to her and
You
was
must be
very convincing.
persuasive.
Yeah, she's gonna be
I-
a little messed up for the next 2 days. I should probably help
Ah,
her out. Maybe she needs a TA.
It's nice to see that things panned out for you. How about you, Swati? Did you go slam some poets?
We were thwarted in slamming tonight. However, I did see that there was a performance art jam in 2 weeks.
Ah,
So we
Do
get to
you
make
jam the
jam.
art?
Believe, I mean, jam means pounding, right?
I think so.
Yes. You can also cook them with sugar.
So perhaps people perform art and you pound them if it
Into
is
jam.
bad into jam.
And then you cook them with sugar and put them in a jar.
Wow, so it's also a cooking class. I should join you for that.
we
I
need to
think that
pick
could be a
better
group
words.
outing.
Yeah, we do. We absolutely do.
Well, cheers to that. I hope that we too
Cheers.
can join in this team jam.
Cheers.
Boy.
And
The
there's like a little bit on like my
staining.
as all our fangs are in display to the audience, but
Yeah.
not to each other. We're like all four facing the same.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
As we all face out towards the television,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
which is the camera.
Yep.
Yep.
And I feel at that point, sort of the credits are starting to roll, and our sitcom is over, and so is this game.
Woohoo!
What a ride.
What a ride! What a
There was
ride
no
to get
point. There was no point where I anticipated any
here.
of the like narrative choices that we made at all.
No,
No.
we just
None.
decided as a collective. how many cogs can we throw in here and just keep there's no like oh let's connect them in however way possible. We were like, we will figure it out as we go along. And I like that. It was really good.
I mean, that's the beauty of this very rules like game, which I will actually put a link to in chat right now. So if anybody's interested in this wonderful game written by our wonderful Jeremy, who not only produced a stream today, facilitated a wonderful game, and now we're playing this game. And yeah, also let's quickly do some player outros before we end the show. And it's not even the end yet, we have one more show after this. But yeah, let's just start with our wonderful slam poet.
I mean, I'm just really sad I didn't get to perform my poem about humans.
We'll perform it now.
All together, human. Okay, I won't subject anyone else to anything.
No, please do.
Hello, I am Pooja, and you can find me on Twitter at LADC Girl. That's LADESI Girl. I play actual plays on the Happy Jacks RPG Network on It's Probably OK's Twitch stream. We just started a new campaign of Demigods, which is an RPG he wrote, and called Media Storm, where we are the misfit children of media, because there's nothing like parental disapproval. And you can also find me on the 12-Sided Stories podcast. Coming up for the month of October, we've got a really nice special lineup. B. Zelda came to be our crypt keeper for Bluebeard's Bride, and it was the first time any of us had played it, and it was amazing, and I loved it. And then I get to GM our Halloween special, a very special spooky episode of Brindlewood Bay.
Sounds delightful. And Valiant.
Hey everyone, I am Valiant Dorian. I use he, him, his pronouns. I am a Twitch variety streamer, as well as a TTRPG performer and DM. On my Twitch channel, I usually run playing random video games because it's fun, but I also run a special program known as D&D Learning Spaces, where folks can come in, hang out with me, and we learn about D&D together and try to prep and learn different ways on how to play D&D. I am also, as I said, I'm also a TTRPG performer. I am currently in a mini campaign run by the Auroraverse called The Adventures in Asteri. We go live on Wednesday, 7 p.m. EST on twitch.tv/SaintStella. And that is kind of my jam. I'm glad to have you all here, and thank you all so much for such an incredible BIPOC jam, Vamp jam. This is amazing.
Yeah, Brandy.
So I am Brandy Rose. I played Frankie tonight. All of my links are in the link tree. Some of them are that I am now a contributing writer to the new Son of Oak RPG, Queers RPG, which features a large variety of characters you can play along the lines of City of Mist. So if you like City of Mist and you're gay, you're going to like it, I promise. We are currently in Kickstarter, so help us hit all of those stretch goals so that I can bring you guys all of the creative, like all of the villains I've created, all of the stories, all of the pre-generated characters. The more you Kickstart us, the more you get. I mainly am a creative producer and also a full-time producer for podcasts. I do the podcasts Camgirl Interrupted, Cringe Warning, and Eat Crit. All of which have new seasons coming out the first week of October. Eat Crit is a TTRPG themed podcast where we interview and review games in alternating weeks. And we interview people in the industry, specifically highlighting people of color, people who are disabled, people who are queer in this space. We are all about promoting accessibility and diversity in the TTRPG space. As the tagline says, anyone can play a TTRPG, and if you don't agree with me, you can eat crit. So make sure to check those shows out first week of October. All of my updates are always on Twitter at the Brandy Rose, and you will see me as well streaming new and more TTRPGs, especially in the next coming months. One particular that you don't want to miss is going to be on my Twitch channel at Cutest Patoot. I will be playing a one-shot of Halo and Horns with GM Connie and Draconics. So keep an eye out for that. All of the dates will be on my socials. And this was a lot of fun. Thank you guys for playing with me.
Oh my god, I had so much fun with this game. Myself, I am Miriam. I go by they, them pronouns, and I do quite a few things in the TRPG spaces. You can find me lurking around here in Utopia. I also am the co-host of their Super Geek, which is a actual play one-shot series that I do with my co-hosts, Kristen and Jeremy. And if you want to find out more about the stuff I do, you can check me out on Twitter at media_junkie. And that is it for this particular show. We have one more before we end our Saturday streaming. We are currently raising money for the Sickle Cell Disease Association of America. Because September is Sickle Cell Disease Awareness Month, and it goes quite well with BIPOC a Vamp Day / Vamp game jam that we're doing. And if we are currently sitting at $619.69 out of a total our third goal of $666.69. I think we're like about 50 or 40-ish dollars away from meeting our third goal. Quick little mental math there. So any amount is no amount is too small. If you can, please donate. We are now going to be moving towards our thank you, like our end screen, while our next game is currently waiting in the wings. But Dracula, what happens if clowns and vampires get put together in a wonderful game written by our very own Katie? So please check that out. Thank you so much, everybody here, for giving your time. A big shout out to all the producers, all the players, all the facilitators, all the game designers, and all the organizers. Just y'all are amazing, and just seeing this all come together just is it's a little emotional in a good way. So yeah, we're gonna now move to our end screen. But please stick around. In a few moments we will play our last game of this evening, But Clowns.